Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. Thank you so much for tuning in. I don't really do these type of uh, episodes to the podcast, but I've literally been asked by about a dozen people now on LinkedIn to respond to a publication that was put out by ABC's Channel 6 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where they had a in-depth ransomware discussion apparently, and they really wanted to see, how true is these things? Can I give some insight? So this will be my one and probably only reaction video to somebody else's type of content. Normally, when we get into these type of stories, I always have like an AI generated story prompt, if you will, that kind of combs the story and reads this one, but I didn't dive into this, but the this one does have a video that's tied to it. So without further delay, please we will dive into this and see what in the world this thing is all about. I am going to actually do it this way so you folks can see the screen a little bit better. Actually, we'll do it this way. That looks a little bit better. All right. Without further delay, let's see what they've got to say.
Cyber attacks are surging these days, and healthcare networks are being increasingly targeted. Just last week, cyber thieves hit Capitol Health in New Jersey. Action News investigative reporter Chapadelli goes inside the negotiations of a ransomware attack with millions of dollars at stake.
Criminal enterprises usually gain access to a network like this through human error. Often an employee may click on what's called a phishing email and accidentally download malware. But that's only the early innings.
All right, so let's stop it right there. Yes, malware. The phishing email malware situation is a serious situation. That is one way that threat actors get in. We are seeing more and more these days where access brokers will initially infiltrate your environment and then sell that access off to a threat actor. We've been seeing that more and more as a traditional way. So I don't know if this kind of speeds up the infection process and things of that nature just by buying access to an already impacted environment, and they just kind of do their data exfiltration, their pivoting, things of that nature. There's a little bit of a looseness there, right? But that's not the only way. It's they're leaked credentials that are happening on Telegram and these breach forums all the time. Open RDP, which I lovingly call ransomware deployment protocol in the industry. It's remote desktop protocol, but essentially you're accessing a remote device through a Windows application or a Microsoft Windows application called RDP, and you're able to get in. So phishing email is one way to get in. It's not the only way for this. And just my gut is going to tell me that the phishing email is probably smaller than your Open RDP, your Open 0-day for Fortinet, Sophos, whatever firewall that you have. We had the biggest one for a while there for the Cisco, and it's definitely an interesting story there. So anyway, just want to make that point of clarification. Again, I'm not really used to these reaction videos, but let me know in the comments let me know what you think about what I think. And if y'all want more of these things, I don't know. I feel kind of goofy about this, but I guess it's really no different than me guest hosting on the CISO for Dr. Gerald Ozier's podcast. So we'll continue on.
In the game of ransomware, then begins the negotiations.
Ooh, we have the cool hacker typing green font.
Billions of dollars every year that ransomware groups are making
The cyber syndicates go by the names like Akira, Black Basta, Lockbit, and the Lazarus Group.
We see that there are threat actors that exist all over the world.
And with the click of a mouse...
All right, so I wanted to make one point that there is a difference between ransomware group and threat actor. A ransomware group is a type of threat actor. You know, they spoke about Lazarus, or they mentioned Lazarus Group in here. If I can find that icon. Yeah, so Lazarus Group, they were not known for ransomware. They were more data exfiltration and things of that nature. You know, Lockbit, this is kind of an old graphic here. Lockbit 3.0 is, oh goodness, I am probably 1,000% wrong on this one, but I do think that Lockbit 3.0 was released about this time last year in 2022. Again, I've done no research on this video, so I've just been asked so many times to do this thing. So anyway, so
Lockbit and the Lazarus Group.
We see that there are threat actors that exist all over the world.
And with the click of a mouse, these cyber gangs take over networks, hospitals in Delaware County.
A click of a mouse, I don't know how true that is. Come on, guys. You know, I know you're trying to oversimplify the impact, you know, for, you know, the viewers because they're not tech savvy by any means, but I promise you, you know, if you're not in the industry and you're tuning into this thing, it's not as simple as a click of a mouse. It's not like you're logging into your Chase, JP Morgan Chase brokerage account and you're clicking a mouse and entering your credentials. You know, that, you know, there's some tools you need to run. There's some there's some tools that, my goodness, I didn't really think I was going to go this far into this whole thing. So, you know, there are tools that, you know, when you get into an organization, you get that first initial compromised box, that server, that workstation, whatever have you. You know, you do need to use tools that are publicly. I'm not going to mention them because I just don't want to educate people who may not know and potentially damage their own infrastructure. But there's tools where you can be able to scan your network and, you know, see what other devices, what other servers, workstations, printers, things of that nature that are on that local environment, and see what exploits are available. So that way you can literally pivot to this this other device and see what's there, potential good information, and be able to do that data exfiltration and get that juicy data. Anyway.
The City of Philadelphia and the Pennsylvania Water Authority are just a few of the local victims in 2023.
These threat groups have evolved in such a way that they have more or less real-time chat applications.
Drew Schmidt.
So here we go. Let's just for point of clarification, I'm not sure who this guy is. Come on. Did I go back too far? Sorry.
Seconds, minutes, even hours for responses. But the entire cat and mouse game often takes days.
They might find your policy information so they know, you know, how much insurance.
Yeah, so I don't know who GuidePoint Security is. You know, I'm going to go out on a limb and make a massive assumption that this is another DFIR firm that's, you know, essentially a competitor to us, but I don't know anything about this organization or who this individual is. So, you know, I'm not going to cast shade onto somebody that doesn't deserve it or anything like that. I'm just going to make an assumption that they're in digital forensics and incident response.
Coverage you have for certain types of scenarios.
Yeah, they do that. So people got to understand that threat actors, ransomware groups are going to try to find out the maximum payout that's available to an organization. So, you know, if they compromise your network, they pivoted, they got to your file server or wherever you're storing your critical data at, and they're able to look at healthcare information, things of that nature, and they're able to find, you know, a cybersecurity insurance policy or any sort of insurance policy. You know, I have not seen it called out this year, maybe earlier this year. 2023 has definitely been an interesting high and low for ransomware attacks. It's not been as busy, I don't think, as previous years. At least the caseload that we're getting has not been as high. We've had bigger cases, um, but not the number of cases. So I don't know. We're very small in the whole overall scheme of other DFIR firms. So it's Casually Joseph says GuidePoint is an MSSP if he remembers correctly. Uh, Good point. I don't know, Joseph, if who they are. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but they will find out. So let's just say hypothetically they have an organization that has a $2 million ransomware or cybersecurity ransomware policy broken down in there, just like with any of your. If you take a look at your automobile insurance, your homeowners insurance, things of that nature, you have certain limits for certain type of events, things of that nature. But threat actors don't care about that. They just look at that top dollar mark and be like, okay, you have a $2 million policy. We want 1.5, 1.8, whatever, because we can prove to you. Here's your document that we can verify you have an insurance policy. Now pay the F up, right? So, um, it's kind of the way they go. Did this thing just reload on me? Oh, stupid web app.
Link. They'll enter their company name and code and negotiate
Here we go.
with
Sorry about this.
GuidePoint Security, a cybersecurity firm for 1/3 of the Fortune 500 companies and more than
Okay, so GuidePoint's pretty big. They're covering 1/3 of the Fortune 500. So I guess they are competing in the same space like Kroll Kroll, Mandiant. Even though Mandiant does more reverse engineering, I think these days than anything else. But anyway, they're up in the big boy arena from what it sounds like. Again, I don't know. I'm just going to go off this news story.
half of U.S. government cabinet level agencies. He says after an attack, victims will get a link. They'll enter their company name and code.
So yeah, there are some. This one mentioned Black Basta. I'm just going to try to do the rewind for 10 seconds.
Companies and more than half of U.S. government cabinet level agencies. He says after an attack, victims will get a link.
So yeah, this one is Black Basta. I'll kind of minimize myself here again. So you'll see here where it's got your company ID and the capture here where they actually have a caption there because, they don't want any phishing. So it's really weird. Some groups actually do the captchas on there. And I think so there's sites that are out there currently that will scrub chat negotiation sites. And I think pure speculation, but I'm under the assumption that this is a way for them to prevent, data scrubbers from scrubbing their sites through the URL by making sure that there's a captcha there. So, got a super chat. Thank you so much, Miss Jess Bishop. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, in the ransomware note, you'll see your company ID. It's not really like, it's a unique identifier or a UID or extra data field, whatever your programming language may be. But each company has their own unique company ID according to the threat actor group. So it's not like a universal company ID against all threat actors or based off of, any sort of federal or international regulatory body that you're submitting your information to for compliances or anything like that. It's specifically for that particular threat actor. Not all of them have that. There's a lot of threat actors that still very much play in the email game. There's where you'll email, a Proton email address. You'll email to a Yahoo, an AOL, believe it or not. There's a lot of them. So I would say, much like you have in organizations, you have the Fortune 500, then you have your Fortune 5,000, 1 million, whatever the case is. You got those tiers all the way down to SMBs and the small of the SMB, the small businesses. The smaller organizations like your Phobos, your um, 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 sorry, the name is, forgive me. I know I'll think of it in just a moment, but there's a lot of the smaller organizations that you are going to communicate by email, and there's some of them we're seeing a growing trend to pivot folks to communicate on WhatsApp, even though I don't think that that's been widely adopted. I haven't seen too many cases on that recently. I've seen what's called Talks Chat, which is just like a torrent-based chat application. Those are old like me. Well, remember AIM, AOL's Instant Messenger. You know, for the newer people, like your Google Instant Messenger inside of Gmail, things of that nature. So the Talks ID is Talks Chat is just on the Tor network, and much like your Instant Messenger application for that. So there's a lot of different ways. So it's not just this particular way. So again, just a point of clarification.
They'll enter their company name and code, and negotiations are underway.
Hey,
That is correct. Yes. A lot of times they will, depending on the threat actor. Again, if they have an Onion site, they have a Tor site, they will you'll already be presented with information. They will already, like the bigger folks like Black Basta, Acura, um, Hive when they were around, Lockbit, the a lot of the bigger players, they will already have identified what your organization is. Well, they'll already have a list of potential sensitive information. They already have potentially their starting price for negotiations. So it kind of goes down that rabbit hole. So yeah, it you know game on, so to speak.
I was told to get into contact with you based on this ransomware,
Oh yeah, sorry, but too small of amount. We see that a lot, especially when you try to lowball them. Here, just what I said a minute ago. We checked your annual balance. I'm sure I'm about your pocket money. You have a balance from blah 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 Chase a bank. So yeah, like I said a moment ago, they do look for that sensitive information. They do try to pull any financial information, insurance information, things of that nature to pressure you into that top dollar. The old flea market style negotiations definitely in play, and I use that reference a lot when I'm talking to new organizations that are looking for us to potentially come in as a threat actor negotiation firm to potentially get a decent deal for these type of things.
file that we found on our computers. How do we get our files back?
In this ransomware attack, Black Basta.
Yep. So, this is their chat. So, hey, we are Black Bastard Group. We're here to inform you that company network, blah, 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 blah. We have downloaded over 1 terabyte of sensitive information and data from your network. 9 times out of 10, this is very, very true. Jeez, I don't really think I was going to go this long into a reaction video. This is crazy. But it's very true. They'll give you a potential file tree of data that you've taken. They will a lot of times through our forensic operations, we'll be able to say, yep, they touched these potential files. It went up to a Dropbox. It went up to a send file. It went to a 365 bucket or Azure Blob Storage or S3 container, whatever have you, through a lot of the network traffic that's being able to be taken care of. But depending if the forensic files are still there, being able to capture it, because a lot of the threat actors, there are some there's a lot of core system files that are excluded from the encryption process. So being able to get the Windows event logs, getting what's called SHRM data, uh, being able to look at that network telemetry, things of that nature is able to be done. Basta Group, Black Basta, is definitely one of those that will wipe out your SHRM cache. So being able to do that network forensics on the network connections and things of that nature inside of the organization is very, very hard. Lockbit 3.0 is definitely known for that. Hive ransomware, when they were around, were known for it. Alv, Black Cat are definitely known, just to name a few. So it's very, very important if you're ever posed in this situation, do not reboot your computer, because even though they will delete the shroom data or any of the other forensic data because they don't want to know, uh, they don't want other people like the CISA, FBI, DHS to be able to put out their TTPs. But we can get that memory data and do the memory forensics. As soon as you reboot the computer or the threat actor reboots your computer, it's game over. There's no memory forensics that can be done, right? So I hate this app, or I hate this darn website. Here we go. Cool.
Ransomware attack, Black Basta requested $1 million. If not paid, the group warned the sensitive information would be posted.
Oh yeah, so this is definitely much like the other threat actor groups that you'll see
how do
on
we get our
there.
files back?
In this ransom.
I'll mute this for a second so I can talk without being interrupted by that. But you'll see here in just one moment as soon. Yep. So there we go. They on their name. This is what I lovingly call name and shame. Their publication site. They will. A lot of them will say where their organizations are. And again, like I said a minute ago, they're going to look for that sensitive information to identify you and do things. We've seen earlier, what was it, 2 months ago, maybe a little less, where Black Cat Alv, maybe it was Lockbit. It was either one of those two. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on which one it was, but they reported to the SEC about a data breach that happened, and they noticed that they never filed any sort of notification to them and went there. So, yeah, especially when they go to sell off your data, hey, we've got, 2 terabytes of data from ABC Liquor Store. No, this is the first organization I thought about, right? So everybody knows they're quote unquote local red dot. So yeah, you'll see this a lot of times. There are days till publication. That's one format. There's Lockbit is known for their countdowns, 5 days, 3 hours, 2 minutes, X seconds, things of that nature to a publication. And it's not a full dump. Most of the threat actors, the ransomware groups, do not do a full massive dump at one time. A lot of it is trickled in, right? So thank you, Casually Joseph, for the confirmation that was Black Cat. I knew it was one of the two. Sometimes my TTPs and a lot of these stories start to blend together very, very heavily when you're looking at so many of them. Yeah, definitely. Brandon, what's going on, buddy? Thanks so much for joining. But yeah, some ransomware actors do put the company's revenue on theirs. Like I was saying, the certain threat actors do certain different things, right? So, if you don't make that ransomware payment and they start slowly leaking, depending on the amount of data that there is, you could have 4, 5, 6 different posts of that data, that's being leaked out. So it's not one big massive. Well, let me rephrase that. There are some threat groups that will do one big massive dump to like Megashare or whatever. More times than not, with the bigger players, they are trickling those data dumps out. So a lot of times you'll see this pure assumption on my part, but I am assuming, assumptions being the mother of all, that they're just the mega share links and mega upload links and things of that nature may have been their first point of compromisation where they did that data exfiltration, and they're just now sharing out that potential link for that versus pulling that data into their backend infrastructure and then pushing it to another mega share link or something. Again, the threat actors, I'm assuming, again, assumption are mother of all f ups, but they're swarmed. This is a business model for them at the end of the day. So as long as they did good OPSEC, I can't imagine they just wouldn't reuse their first, mega share, mega upload, whatever the public share file repo is, and just publicize that out. Again, pure assumptions on my part.
warned the sensitive information would be posted to a news board like this. Simply put, a leak site on the dark web where other criminals can access the information.
And that's where they name and
Yeah, there are not just other criminals that are on those onion sites. There are data scrapers. There's so many things that are out there right there that are. I mean, there's even Twitter accounts right now that are out there that will just straight out publicize, hey, this company just got posted, this company just got posted, this company is on and on and on. And there's pure Twitter accounts just right around us, right thing. So make no mistake, it's not just other bad threat actors that are on these sites.
shame. That's where they post the data.
Schmidt says he'll then request proof they have the files they say they do.
So we call
Yeah, that is one of the tactics. That is absolutely correct.
that actually proof of life.
Yep.
Okay.
Proof of life, or what I call proof of concept. So he calls it POL, I do POC. Same concept, just different terms.
You have what you say you have, but now we need to know that you can actually decrypt the files that you've encrypted in our environment.
He says,
so one point of should I? Yeah, I can say this. So one thing that we actually do in our negotiations, we get a file tree. Hey, what data did you steal? And we will handpick with the client. Hey, prove to us you've got some files. Provide this file, this file, this file. We'll name 3 to 5 files, things of that nature, and have them generate those files to us as a proof of concept that they actually did do data exfiltration. Because one thing folks need to know, a lot of times they're going to use not a curl command. They'll use a PowerShell command, a command line tool, things of that nature that will literally create a file tree. It doesn't mean that they freaking have your files. They just generated a file tree to say what files are in the root folder of these shared folders. So, it's a little bit of a couple parts, right? Show me what data you have, prove to me you have some data, and then we'll kind of go from there, right? So.
as it can take seconds, minutes, even hours for responses.
Yep.
But the entire cat and mouse game often takes days.
They might find your policy information.
Yeah, so it can take days, it can take even weeks. It really depends on, it's a case-by-case scenario where, how fast do we need to get to a decryption tool, right? Are we playing the game of stalling? Are we, again, trying to get decryption to as fast as possible, things of that nature. So, if we're on a case where it's a financial institution, it's a hospital, it's whatever, and look, every hour of downtime is just gobs and gobs of money. We're losing $50,000, $100,000 per hour, and we need decryption sooner rather than later. And advice of counsel or the client, whatever have you, they're like, look, we just need to solidify this deal and get this thing done so we can start recovery process. Then, a lot of times we will escalate and ramp up our communication efforts to help facilitate that. So it's a case-by-case scenario depending on the urgency of the client is the best way I can say.
So they know, how much insurance coverage you have for certain types of scenarios.
In this chat, Black Basta seemed to know bank account information, valuable nuggets in a ransomware negotiation. Schmidt says his company's statistics finds 65% of clients pay the ransom, with an average payment in the low hundreds of thousands of dollars.
They're going to be paid using cryptocurrency, and in most cases, it's going to be Bitcoin.
And some businesses cannot afford to pay the ransom. Some have even been forced to shut their doors completely.
That is absolutely freaking true. So we've been, our job is to get a reasonable price for a possible decryption with the information that we have on hand. So, let's just say we've had some cases in the past where, there was sensitive information. I can't say too much about it, but there was sensitive information that was posted in an S3 bucket. They said, hey, we have no PII, we don't have any of this stuff. And through the early parts of the investigation, before the client just completely went off the rails, and I don't know what in the world ended up happening on that case, to be completely honest with you, but the um, when we started doing proof of concept, we started doing a quote unquote test restore, because it was a different type of case where we're able to do an S3 bucket proof of concept data restoration to prove that they had data before making that a first initial payment. And that sampled data had so much PII of children, and it was just, I about lost a gasket on there. I'm like, you literally said during our discovery call, no, there's no PII here. And it's like every third file was a high school report card, where it literally has child's name, address, parents' name, things of that nature, school records, all this stuff. I don't know why they needed it. I don't understand the industry. And again, I won't say too much about that and potentially, disclose what type of industry or company that they're in. But it was a lot of sensitive information that I was not even expecting. So it's, when you're in a case like this, I know egos are bruised, pride is hurt. But when you're bringing in a consulting firm to help you get out of the situation, it is highly recommended to be as honest as humanly possible, so that we were armed with the information to facilitate the situation. A lot of people think they're just going to be able to sweep it under the rug, and it just doesn't happen.
Bringing down these networks can be difficult because many operate in countries that do not cooperate with U.S. investigations. I'm Action News investigative reporter Chad Perdelli, Channel 6.
Yeah, so there is the international community that doesn't work with it. There's been the reports that have come out where, and I'm still strongly debating about doing this podcast on the Black Hat Alpha V and kind of what we know now. There's a lot of information that's really been caught up as of this moment. We're talking about the new Onion leak site, things of that nature. So I don't think I really need to do it, but if we're getting requested to do it, I'll definitely do a deeper dive on kind of the timeline of what's been going on. The whole story, that whole thing is still very, very interesting. I'm definitely watching the nuances of this one. But yeah, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Please let me know what you think about what I think in the comments. If you want me to do more of this reaction videos, I can't imagine why. But definitely let me know. Send me stuff on LinkedIn. I'm trying to do my best to get a little bit more active on that one and stay up to date on it. So definitely do that. I do read the comments here from time to time just to see how things are going. But thanks for tuning in. I will see you folks on the next one. Until then, stay secure.
There once was a kid whose passwords laid across all sites. They were the same, a criminal, then found their fame by taking that data to go. Soon may a criminal come to steal your pictures and data and run. One day when the crime is done, they'll steal your account and go.